Uh, I tried to train shoulders, but I ended up just doing like back. But because like everyone was on machines that I wanted to do, because I did my free weight shoulder day like a couple days ago, but then I wanted to use some machines and like everyone's on the machines and at crunch, it's like every machine is always broken. So yeah. So I did end up doing, there we go. I ended up doing some back and abs. So,
Nice. Dude, back's my absolute go-to. If I'm not sure what I want to train, or like if something's not quite recovered, I'll just train back again. Screw it.
yeah. Yeah. You can't have
Such a
too much
good day.
back. Yeah.
Exactly. That's my thoughts too.
Yeah, there's this one girl in the gym though, and it's like every week she gets better. I don't see her like I don't see her there every week, but like probably the last time I saw her was like maybe 2 weeks ago. But like she's like getting more and more like muscle bound. I'm just like, geez, man, she's like putting some of these other guys to shame. But yeah, I don't even know if she competes, but she's just a freaking beast in the gym. It's
Just
crazy.
growing by the week. That's impressive.
Yeah, yeah, like her like it looks like she's growing and losing body fat at the same time, or it could just be her losing body fat, but like her abs are like getting like these little blocks, and I'm just like, dude, like she was doing dragonflies, and I'm like, holy crap. Like I just stopped doing abs. I was like, okay, I'm done.
Oh, exactly. So, quick question. What's your opinion on plant sterols for cholesterol, lowering cholesterol compared to like Reggie Strice or thing? Because I tend to prefer Reggie Strice, just affordability wise and how effective I've seen it be.
Yeah.
But so one of my clients that I won't name, his wife recently got diagnosed with being sick with a certain thing that they're worried about.
Yeah.
And she was working with another like naturopath person that they almost felt misled by, because they feel like they should have been able to identify this is an issue earlier than when they finally got told and how far along it was.
Yeah.
His wife made him go in and like do a bunch of stuff with just basically a homeopathic slash medical. They doctor whatever, but just they tries to use more natural things.
Yeah. A DO.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do like homeopathy. Yeah.
Oh, I see. I didn't get that. Like he was recommending normal supplements, not necessarily like homeopathy, but like
Yeah.
basic, like, but they sold them all their like supplements, and it sucks because I understand why. Like his wife's kind of forcing her because they felt like the previous person that she was working with kind of failed them a little bit.
Yeah.
And like he trusts me, but like went in because they have 2 kids. Like the last thing they need is him getting sick or him having issues. And it sucks because he got his blood work done and he hasn't been doing anything I said on the supplement side of things. So all the cholesterol issues that we had, all the like elevated blood glucose things, they were all still present. So basically made me look bad, even though he notoriously for the last 3-4 months wasn't taking any of what I was suggesting, wasn't training, wasn't the nutrition, like all of it was off.
Yeah.
So he switched. Now I'm not handling any of the supplements or side of things, but I just reviewed his recent blood work. Like, dude, for sure, what I recommended for you is more effective for the specific things that you're concerned about than what their private brand supplements had. Like they have a powder thing where his main on their lab test, based on what they were talking about, their main concern for him was cortisol levels, which makes sense. For the last few months, he's been fucking just handling everything going through. So like understandable. Cholesterol, like really low HDL, high LDL, and just on the border of high total cholesterol. Triglycerides weren't in a great spot. And then blood glucose, like fasted blood glucose was 98. A1C was on the high end. So those were the main concerns. And this powder has the one ingredient that it has in there for cholesterol is phytosterols. The rest, like it has like genema, selenium, some other things for like regulating blood sugar. So it's like
Yeah.
kind of a all in one. But I'm like, dude, for what? Because I had him taking on his plan. I had him taking red yeast rice at the full dose, which was 1,200 milligrams twice a day, and 200 milligrams of CoQ10. No way that's not more effective for lowering his cholesterol than this would have been, or this will be, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know like how well the plant sterols versus red yeast rice like would compare. I know my wife has some like cholesterol issues. The main thing I look at is total cholesterol ratio to HDL. So if it's above, like I try to stay like as close as I can to like 2 to 1. Yeah, so if it's like 4 to 1, usually is like what's standardized in medical. Anything higher than 4 to 1, they're typically like, okay, that's bad. I mean, I like a 2 to 1.
It was just
For 4 to 1. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, that's really because your LDL can be high, right? So, I mean, your LDL, it's kind of like people waiting for Uber, and then your HDL's the Uber. And so like you can kind of have some buildup, but if we have more like Ubers, then more people can travel wherever they go. So if you have high LDL and high HDL, that's okay. As long as like there's a good ratio, right? Just to keep things moving along and not congested. So like plaque buildup or whatnot. So that's the way I look at it. But like my wife has issues with her cholesterol, and like we've been trying like citrus bergamot, CoQ10, ubiquinol, 200 milligrams every day, and like it really hasn't budged. And people genetically have a higher cholesterol range, or how their body utilizes cholesterol, because that person, your client, could be a little bit more muscle bound as well. I mean, we know cholesterol is a steroid. I mean, could be that, or that cholesterol could be because, like you were saying, like higher cortisol. So that could be like a higher like cortisone output, because cortisone is a steroid. And what was the other? But like also like losing body weight can like just help get rid of cholesterol as well. So we see those like go hand in hand. I like red yeast rice as far as like a cheap way to naturally help manage cholesterol. I wouldn't say, I'm not going to say like reduce it, but definitely I would say manage it for sure, because that's the compound that they use to make the pharmaceutical medication for cholesterol medication. And so like they've even like had cholesterol medication made in pharmaceuticals, and like it was actually just red yeast rice.
Yep. So like when I go on Examine and pull up red yeast rice, its first header is like, it is the most effective natural statin that we're aware of so far, and it gives the like technical name of the component of it that is the bioactive part. But no, I have multiple clients that were having cholesterol issues, like their doctors were worried about it, and I've seen red yeast rice in those specific cases definitely reduce it. But I've also had clients that I don't necessarily trust they were taking it 100% as the way they should have been, but I've also seen it not move quite as much as you would hope.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the best websites that I've seen to help like explain supplements and even drug interactions. So yeah, man, examine.com.
I suggest it all the time.
Yeah, that's I tell everyone that works at my store, I'm just like, just go to examine.com and you'll get better answers.
It's funny because every new person, like I'd be in vitamin shops, like even that I didn't work at, and like we'll talk, and people there will just start asking me questions because I'll start like explaining stuff, and then as I leave, I'm like, examine.com. Like if you have any questions about any supplement, and pretty much any supplement in the store, you can type that in and get dosing, like how effective it actually was for certain things. Because people will make claims, and I'll pull it up and be like, it had virtually no effect, or not even maybe a negative effect on something that people are saying it's good for. I'm like,
Yeah. And like, I like the fact that they link the studies to it. So like whatever their claims are or their findings, like, yeah, this is the study it came from. So I think Lane Norton does quite a few memes about that, where they're like the people who are like, I want to see studies, like you tell me, show me the proof or whatever. But so I think today we were going to talk about maybe some of the like, because I made a video about the causes or like what may lead to the death in fitness industry. I would say bodybuilders are the ones that we follow closely, and the reason why I say fitness people, because there's going to be a lot of other individuals who aren't bodybuilding, but they use like exogenous hormones or exogenous compounds or synthetic compounds to achieve a aesthetic look or maybe a performance aspect that they need to be good in their job or in their sport. And I think they're starting at a younger and younger age, and that's where I think the people need to start addressing it. And it's not really because everyone's looking at the people who are already big in the industry, like Brett Wilkin, you know, Nick Walker, all these are bigger guys, right? They've already built their body, right? But I think
it's so damn big.
yeah, and very, very fast, right? And so we're obviously that's not healthy, and they probably did it in a very they you know, they managed it very well because obviously they're not dead, and or they're not like you know, I guess like they're not like doing blood transfusions or dialysis or things like that. So like they are healthy to a certain degree, and they try to manage their health that way. But what's more concerning to me is like the people coming up. They're like, hey, like I have to get bigger at a younger age, and they're trying to chase this this expectation and of like what they're supposed to be, because a lot of people, you know, they don't really understand that like Brandon Curry, he's like almost 40 now, and all these guys, like they put their time in and they look great like in their 30s, but I mean these people in their 20s, man, they look like they're 30, like in the face, like everywhere. They just look so much older than what they are. And I think it's going to start happening at a younger age. Like, I mean, 17-year-olds now and 18-year-olds now are not the same back whenever I was 18, you know? So like put it in perspective, like I'm turning 35 this year. And so like my, like, yeah, 18, we were a lot smaller, but I mean, you look at, what's that coach's name? He has a son, he coaches Big Rammy, Chad.
Oh yeah. Dude,
Yeah,
his son's strong.
Yeah, his son's huge, right? And I think we're going to see that more and more and more. And I just, you know, a lot of companies are putting out vitamins and minerals and such, and more people are taking vitamins and minerals because they want to negate or manage side effects from exogenous hormones or exogenous compounds like peptides, or they think that the more vitamins and minerals, the more of these like of these testosterone and things like that, that it can help help them grow, right, and but also stay healthy. And I personally think that they add too much fuel to the fire, and that's what causes some issues later on, just because of too much retention of minerals. I mean, and that's my opinion, because we don't even know really what testosterone does, right? So, or a lot of these ectosterols, but like they may help retain more minerals, which means if we retain more at a higher rate or a more efficient rate, we would technically need less if we're retaining more, even though we have a high output. But I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yep, this was interesting because you brought it up the other day when I seen you, and I'm a big component of like natural supplements and like helping manage certain aspects. But you brought up the point that a lot of people are taking things and overlapping and taking relatively high doses of certain like minerals or certain aspects of supplements for long periods of time. And that's something I didn't really ever consider, because like I know what I'm looking for, so I don't tend to take 5 supplements that have like vitamin K2 in them. Like if I take it, I take one supplement and I know what dose I'm getting. But there's a lot of things that have a lot of overlap that I don't know if people are paying attention to.
Yeah. And like, so for example, this is priceplow.com. I use this a lot. They're very knowledgeable, and they let out a lot of information about supplements and panels and such and being compliant. And so I use these guys as much as I use examine.com. But you pretty much in the search engine, you can type whatever you want. But for example, like Revive MD, right? They've helped so many athletes. I love their products. I think they're awesome. But for example, I mean, whenever you start stacking all these things together, kidney, heart, daily greens, liver, brain, lipid, right? So, I mean, looking at the lipid and heart, right? So you got 2 different formulas that are almost the same, right? And I understand that they can add more SKUs and they don't want to, you know, to lessen the price of the item, because if you add both of those together, then now the cost of the product is probably like $90, and who wants to pay for that, right? So I understand that, but I wish there's a panel on here. And I said that they had like panels, but oh, there we go. So I mean, you're adding in vitamin D3, vitamin K, you know, CoQ10, but really these vitamins, and then a lot of these herbs and roots and these extracts, we don't really know how they interact with the body 100%. We just know that we see studies and we're like, oh, this, you know, curcumin, this type of curcumin, that standardized curcumin C3 complex, it helps with, you know, lipid profile or your heart health or reducing inflammation, how with whatever study, right? But they're not combining it with Rejuna, or they're not combining it with CoQ10 sometimes. So, or they're not combining it with a greens product as well. So it's hard to say, you know, are we hurting ourselves by taking so many of these supplements that almost do the same thing, and that kind of mix all these different herbs and increase the vitamins, or are we helping ourselves? So that's what I feel like that's the biggest change in the industry, is the fact that like we're adding more and more supplements, and it's getting cheaper and cheaper, because back in the day, I mean, you listen to bodybuilders and they're like, oh, I took like beef liver tablets, right? Or I took the amino like liquid aminos by Amino Fuel or Twin Labs. And I mean, see, even in this one, we got artichoke extract, right? So you're taking artichoke extract, which helps bile production in the liver, but then you also have things that help with, you know, your liver health as well, pulling in vitamins, right? So like vitamin D, vitamin K, Rejuna. There's going to be things that would be excreting bile, and then also you need bile to absorb it, but then also you need the liver to break down other vitamins that are methylated maybe or non-methylated. So like there's so many things going on. It's kind of like you're trying to light a fire underwater sometimes, it seems like. And I know like the body's I know the body is very efficient and productive at like doing what it needs to do to digest, metabolize, absorb, distribute, so many different things, right? It's just like, it's crazy, but yeah, I think it's too much, right? So it's like, I mean, I can give a million of these like analogies, but like, I mean, you go to freaking Cold Stone, you get ice cream. The worst thing you can do is freaking start putting the chocolate, the gummy bears, this, that, like it starts to be you have all these great ingredients, but then when you put them all together, it just makes it like a terrible sundae, right? You know? I mean, that's the way I look at it, you know?
I couldn't tell you the last time I had a situation like that. So that one didn't resonate, but the other ones were good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, like gummy bear with Reese's Pieces, with freaking cookie dough, with, you know, mango ice cream, like that ain't going together. I'm sorry, you know what I mean? Like, it might all be good, like maybe one or the other, but like all of them together, it's not for a good party.
So I know you were saying like people starting younger, getting bigger younger, but a lot of people are like speculating that more of the issue is people are competing longer now. Like there's like Lee Haney retired before half these people make their first Olympia. So
Yeah.
like, what do you think about that? Because I think when you're younger, your body's a little more resilient, and if you stop by a certain time, a lot of like I feel like there's compound damage that comes from like year 1 through 5 is whatever. People can get away with a lot of stupid shit if they're not genetically in a bad position. Year 5 through 8 or whatever. They have to start paying attention. Maybe blood pressure starts elevating. Maybe like certain markers start elevating. But when you're 20, 25 years or however long, 20 years into using gear, I feel like every freaking year you're just at so much more risk.
Yeah. Yeah, starting at a younger age, and plus since they're I feel like they're developing their body. So they may not be competing during those younger ages because they got rid of juniors, right? So like they may or may not, right? I mean, but they know that they need to be big by the time they're 20 or 21, right? What what I what I hypothesize is your body, your DNA recycles and reciprocates in a very specific amount of time. All of your DNA. Same thing with your blood, right? So all of your blood gets recycled a certain amount of time. Every 7 years, you have different allergies that develop. You either gain or lose tolerance to certain foods, to environmental factors. Your body is always mutating genes, and whenever these kids are starting these supplements at a very young age, I think it may help the genes not become mutated and maybe become healthier and stronger in individuals. Or I think it could do the opposite, and it could just stress them out even more. So their body is resilient, in my opinion. Like we see kids be able to do a lot of things and eat whatever foods that they want. But and again, like you're saying, like there's like a genetic factor to it, to how well your body metabolizes things, and and uh, and and doesn't mutate its genes to stay younger. Um, but I don't really know, because like seeing the consumer reports of like um, people who make X amount of money within this age range are going to buy supplements. So usually people middle class and upper class, within 25 to 35 or 40 is going to be your higher consumer person for sports supplementation. But we're seeing younger kids also have those supplements because they're not consumers, their parents are consumers. So even though reports show 40-year-olds are buying these sports supplements, they might be buying it for their child. I know this because I do this for my nephew, right? And he's in high school. So like it shows that a 35-year-old is purchasing these supplements. Okay, well, I'm also giving it to someone that's younger. My parents did the same thing with me. For me, when I was younger, I didn't really overdo it as far as supplementation goes. But I feel like what I was so sick already, having autoimmune diseases where I needed to suppress my immune system. If I took more things that were antioxidant based, I think I would have actually harmed my body, because that would have actually encouraged more immune production, right? Like an immune protective production, wherever I just needed to suppress that. So for me, like vitamins and minerals really aren't the best thing at that young age, because I was still developing, my genes were still mutating or changing, but like that. So it's hard to say, like are these companies that are kind of marketing toward younger consumers, are they helping them in the long run by adding all these vitamins and minerals on top of all the food that the kids are eating? Because now when they're in the fitness industry, they've already set their body has already been taking all those vitamins and minerals, progesterone, ectosterones, whatever they're taking. And then now they jump into things that they can buy over the internet with credit card or Zelle, and like peptides, SARMs, pro hormones still. And then they go into steroids. So like they're slowly mutating their body And I think now where they're 20 years old, their body's telomeres have probably shortened, which means that the age of our body is older. So I think that even though they're dying younger, they're also competing longer. I don't know if if they're competing longer. Are they doing 7 shows a year like back in the day?
True, but I really do feel like people have put since the early 2000s.
Yeah,
People have really pushed the. I feel like they've pushed the dosing or amount of different compounds up, because you hear a lot of people talk that had competed from like the 90s into the early 2000s. Like
yeah,
it seems like around that like Ronnie J time, a lot of people started pushing things higher than uh, was kind of the norm before that. And I feel like
yeah,
we're seeing the fall off of that now. Like it's part of those age ranges, people that came up in that era that we're
yeah.
seeing issues now.
Do you now? There's a few things. Do you think that people are pushing the limit? Like, because I do agree. Like, they're using more compounds, they're using higher compounds, and let's say they're not competing, they're not doing the tours like they did back in the day, right? They're competing once, twice a year. They're they're on a longer cycle, probably, right, for a mass building cycle. Versus, I would say, if you're competing all the time, you're taking androgenic drugs, things that harden your body, things that are harsh on your kidneys. You're taking diuretics. I don't believe any of them that say they never took diuretics. And because you're prepping for the shows. And so staying at that low body fat percentage to do 7 shows a year, I mean, that's like back to back to back to back. I mean, that's really harsh on your body, like really harsh. So, I mean, that's like freaking doing dialysis back to back to back when you don't need it. Like you're just pushing your kidneys pretty bad to stay that low body fat percentage and that dry and that hard at the same time. It's just so.
But then you're
So
also staying lighter, you're staying smaller. So there's less physical mass that your heart has to support pumping to. Like people that spend a bunch of time in the off season being massive.
yeah,
That's
so I mean, but I understand there's hearts. There's like there's the heart issues that people are having, like heart attacks and stuff, but your kidneys, your adrenal system does a lot with your heart, with your blood pressure. So even though you don't have as much mass, if you're stressing your kidneys out, saying I have to be this dry all the time, and you're on however much anabar, I and diuretics. So anabar metabolizes your kidneys, diuretics stressing your kidneys out, and then you're competing that whole time. I mean, that's a whole nother stress as well. That leads to blood pressure issues. That can also lead to norepinephrine, noradrenaline, adrenaline, and that can affect your heart, which then can lead to heart issues. I'm not. So I agree. You need more blood to be pumped to more physical muscle like tissue, but I think that people are kind of pushing the limits now because it's a mass game now. They're giving awards to those who are bigger, but I think there's also like a governor on the health side. So like what I mean by that is like I can take more drugs because I'm taking more health supplements to keep my organs healthy. And so they think that they're safer. And I'm not talking about just bodybuilding. I'm talking about like performance sports, Olympics, things like that. Like we're pushing the limits because, oh, I can also take this supplement line and help keep this in line, or I can take this peptide and keep this healthy, or I can do this medical procedure or process and I can get IVs and all these things. All these wellness clinics put out these glutathione IVs, revive your liver, stuff like that, and I'm safe. I can take whatever I need to as long as I get my blood work back in check. It's the same idea of we're freaking getting faster and faster cars, and what do we do to like? Why do we need a car that goes 300 miles an hour? We have a freaking governor on there that can't, you can't drive faster. Like, I don't know, but like they're making these cars that are higher in performance, and the higher the performance, what do they have to do? They have to make the car safer. So now we have traction control. When the first cars were out, we didn't have traction control, but now we got past a certain speed. We noticed people were like kind of swerving and dying, right? Well, now you got to get traction control. Well, now we got cell phones out. Now we got to have like little things that light up on the mirror to detect cars around us. So now we have to increase safety whenever we're increasing performance. And so I think that's happening in the same in our sports, whether it be bodybuilding or fitness, or even freaking Hollywood. I mean, preparing for these roles, right? I mean, you got to stay a certain way all the time to make money. And so I think the health industry, the supplement health industry, is maybe kind of making things a little bit murky as far as like as to say like who's at fault for these deaths, because I think it's sophomoric to blame coaches or to blame individuals if that individual is making that own choice because he feels safer taking X product.
Okay, yeah, I could see that, because now we have more information. Like if something is going wrong, we have different things that we can use to try to address it. So because we believe we're safer now, because we have more information, it allows people to push farther than they might have pushed before.
Yeah.
I can see that. But I feel like as of recently, more dosing or more information about more moderate dosing has started coming out. So do you think we're going to be on the decline? Do you think we've already peaked for like the people that did the most damage to themselves, and now we're coming back? We're going to be, obviously it's showing now because of the people that we're losing, but do you think we're on the decline in people that are really pushing those upper limits and causing the stuff that will appear later?
So I think as human, we're human, right? And so we learn best by mistakes. And people who have wisdom can tell us these things all the time to be like, hey, I did this cycle. This is how I got huge, but now I feel like this. Well, the person that is being told this is like, well, I want to get huge. You did that, so I'm going to do that. But it's 2022. I now have supplements that can help me in IVs that can help my organs stay healthy. So now I won't have kidney problems. I won't have distended gut issues. I won't have a heart attack because I have these people, I have these supplements, or I have this team behind me that's going to be helping me get blood work every month. Freaking, if you want to get blood work weekly, that's fine. I don't care. But like, I think until something bad happens to someone, then they're like, okay, now I believe it. And unfortunately, we have people that are giving out their previous cycle information or what drugs they took to make them run fast or to make them big and strong. But then fortunately, we have that same person also saying, hey, it's actually hurt me. I wish I wouldn't have done this now. But the younger person is like, bro, you got huge, you got paid, because our generations want to get paid because it's hard to live out here. So I'm just going to do it because, I can make sure that I'm healthy later on. And I'm going to be rewarded for being bigger. So, I mean, so I think Fuad and a lot of other people are talking about like trying to help with the organization for like making different weight classes and stuff. But I mean, you'd have to kind of almost make it like everybody's classic physique almost. Like there'd have to be weight limits, there'd have to be cutoffs. But then even when you're at weight limits, now you're talking about people who are big now trying to downsize, but then also keep their muscle density and their hardness. And so now we're maybe pushing different drugs, different peptides to get that look. Or it's pushing them into a different class that they maybe don't need to. Like maybe in order to get into the 212, Derek Lunsford, maybe, if he's going to go to open, if he has to try and stay at 212, maybe he's going to be taking certain peptides or exogenous hormones that keep him small and hard. But now if he gets blood work done, mineral panels, his phosphorus is going to be freaking off the chart, right? So that's going to be like the degradation of like protein synthesis, right? So like his muscles breaking down, and maybe he's not able to keep enough of a sodium potassium balance and a calcium balance to help with keeping phosphorus at bay. So maybe his calcium is going to be super, super low, phosphorus super, super high. He's going to be very, he's going to be in a very catabolic state. His body's not able to repair as much, and then that could harm his kidneys. I mean, so it's so hard to say how to even help these athletes keep their physique that they want or that they're striving for, and to do it safely when they're always trying to find a way around it. And again, I go back to like, that person's just going to go to like a wellness clinic or take some sort of vitamin and mineral supplement to try to keep them healthy as they get whatever physique they want.
So I might have, so I'm a big component of them requiring blood work, not necessarily like them passing certain blood works, or like, because then that puts responsibility on the NPC or IFBB, whatever. But I think there's a lot of people that have a lot of health issues because they ignored blood work for extended periods of time. Like, I believe now we're trying to bring more awareness to it. So I think if somebody was like pushing stuff, and they're just like head in the sand, like something's probably not ideal, but I'm just not going to look at it, like so focused on the goal. If they were required, instead of being able to go like 3, 4, 5 years without like pushing it hard and not actually facing what's going on, I feel like even if they just require, be like, you had X panel done twice a year or whatever. So to compete, if you want to compete in the first half of the year, by January or whatever, you have to have proof that you did the panel. Not necessarily pass this, not necessarily be in good health, whatever the case is, but make you like face the fact that if you're really pushing it and stuff is really getting out of order, like show it, like put it in your face and make you make the decision if you want to keep pushing it that hard or not. I think just that alone would help. Like if the IFBB maybe paid for the blood work and then just it was part like the IFBB card, pro card, whatever, the payment, your payment also covers 2 tests a year or whatever.
Yeah, it could be like an insurance thing. So it could be like a partnership where you get a certain copay that you would go to, whatever. Like if they did it with, let's say, LabCorp, right? Or Quest through private MD labs. So the issues though is the liability and the insurance, the help that the doctor, whoever oversees this, who says okay to this. There's a lot of illegal stuff going on in the sport, and so to say, hey, we're going to get blood work done to see if you're healthy, or just to see if you have a personal choice, right? So like, I understand what you're saying, like, hey, just as long as this person is accountable for their own actions, get some blood work done. But I mean, they don't know what they're looking for, and coaches, unless you're a doctor, you can't claim to know what you're looking for an athlete to say, oh yeah, like he's feeling okay, he's got his blood work 3 times in a row, so he's good to go. But like if something stands out, like your ALT, AST, it's like my liver enzymes run high all the time, and like in the hundreds, and I'm fine, and I've done ultrasounds and all that stuff, and mine just run like high for some reason. But if I can, if there's changes, it's hard to say like what's genetic and what's not. Same thing with cholesterol, things like that. It's hard to say what is and what's not. It would be hard to say what panels need to be done. But then that would raise
Couldn't you just
eyebrow.
go generic?
Huh?
Couldn't you just go generic? Be like,
well, a CBC panel doesn't really tell you much. And the ranges for the CBC panel would technically need to be changed, because the CBC panel is going to be for an average adult, whereas we need a range. We need a doctor, not a doctor, but like a PhD, to say, oh, this is probably more the range of someone who has, who has like 10% body fat. You know what I mean? Like, so the ranges need to move, because right now I'm always out of range, like almost always out of range of things, or I'm on the high end or the low end of something. I'm never like in the middle. And there's a lot of guys who are like that, who are closer to their shows from what I've seen, as far as blood work goes. But like, going back to it, there's just a lot of liability issues that when it comes to it, and the liability of also this sport that the IFBB and the sponsor, the Olympia sponsor, so IFBB and the organization and the sponsor, there's a lot of liability with that, because now, like, if I'm like a city government, right? I'm like, okay, I'm letting this sponsor hold this organization event in my city, and so in Ohio for the Arnold, and I'm having all these guys come, and I know that they have illegal drugs, like they're all not being prescribed stuff. So now I have the liability as a city promoting this and allowing this to happen as a sanction, because they're a sanction now. So then now, that's where the DEA could be like suspicious, because that's a lot of like, you're not running, if we're bringing in drugs, doesn't matter what type they are. I'm for it. I'm pro, as long as you pay for it, whatever. But the problem is that, the pharmaceutical companies in America are now going to be complaining, because they're like, hey, we want them to buy our pharmaceutical TRT and stuff like that. We want them to buy our stuff. Don't buy it from the UK or from the Middle East and bring it here. Like, now we're not getting our money as a pharmaceutical company here in the US, which also means the investors, which is politicians, aren't going to get their ROI. So that puts a lot of like liability on the sport. Now we can also look at like the NFL, because I know the Fuad and all of them are talking about the NFL.
Why is there not liability in that, like, that same context? Like,
because they're not claiming anything. Yeah.
but they know what's going on.
So like, when you get blood work done, you're acknowledging that there are certain hormones being used. That's why the Olympics are governed by WADA, or they're sanctioned by WADA, right? The NFL isn't. There's a reason why.
Yeah,
if WADA was over the NFL, like, there wouldn't be as hard of hits, right? So there's a reason why. But NFL has medical doctors, right?
See,
so it's like,
but my whole thing is, I don't want them to be like looking over it. Like, I don't need the IFBB or NPC to know anything about the blood work. Just like part of your entry.
Well, if they see it, then they're acknowledging it.
They're not seeing it. They're seeing
who's seeing it?
Only the patient, and then they'll get something like proof that it was taken. Like, I don't need them to.
But who do you show it to get entered into the show?
I mean, probably whatever promoter, like, as you're signing up, like, you need your NPC card or a pro card.
Yeah. So then that promoter would be under liability. So then they would need a doctor, because they're saying, oh, you're healthy, or you have blood work done.
They're saying you did blood work. They're not saying healthy, yes, no, maybe so. It's just like, you had this done. End of story.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, if you're like, okay, you have blood work done, and because you have blood work done, you can compete in my show. Now, what if that person dies? Now, if I'm a family member, I can sue that organization, because I can say, hey, he had blood work done. You said, oh, cool, you have blood work done. You're able to compete. Like, so either there should be blood work and it should be shown, or there shouldn't be, because it will cause a liability. That will just be the legalities of it. Because once that sponsor sees visually that there's blood work done, now there's automatically assumption in a courtroom. There's going to be assumption that they are saying okay to that. They may claim not, but that'll be, so the legislative issue that we would run into in that sport would be that, unfortunately. Like, so I mean, I'm all down. I like the idea of accountability, because everyone that goes into a sport, there's accountability involved, right? Like, everything's me getting my driver's license, buying a car. I'm I might die, right? It's you know, if I get a motorcycle, a higher chance of getting hit, right? So I have a higher chance of death. Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, freak. I mean, me going skydiving, I paid for something. I signed a consent form, and so like these people, when they're getting their cards, they're signing a consent form, probably, right? I'm not pro, so I have no idea what they sign, but there's
well, for the
is
show,
there?
you sign a consent form. Like even
Yeah.
NPC show, that's like consent, and you need parents'
Oh,
consent if you are under 18.
I just never read it then. I just let's find it. Okay, but yeah, anything that you do is going to cause some sort of like probability that you would die, and so it's your accountability. So like if you're in the sport of bodybuilding, we all typically, you know, we assume that we are somewhat trying to have a healthy lifestyle, right?
Can you pull up like a NPC or IFBB show registration? There has to, like any local show here should be able to pull up that, because if they already have like a liability thing, be like, we're not liable for. Then if they show blood work, like they're still already covered that they're not liable. It's just another requirement to do the show. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure about IFBB because those they have like contracts they have to sign, right? Where like NPC
Yeah,
is entry.
that's what I'm saying. So I'm interviewing someone else today, so I'm going to ask him because he's an IFBB. I'll be like, "Hey, dude, would you sign for your health?" Oh, that's
Because if they've already addressed this, like at the NPC level, I'm pretty sure they have a consent thing that in there, like makes them not liable for. Like, they're already aware diuretics are probably being used. They're already aware of a lot of the stuff that just by not being a tested organization, they assume
yeah,
there's.
but the problem is when you start. So like in the NFL, no one's required for blood work. If they started requiring blood work, WADA has to get involved or some other sanction has to get involved. Olympics, it requires blood work.
Dude, I feel like they monitor the MP or the NFL athletes to some level. Like they get a lot of treatment stuff done. Maybe more like physical stuff, but
Yeah, I mean the physical thing is literally like cough, check. You know, that's about it. Check your balls. That's pretty much it, man. I have friends in the NFL. You know, um, I went to UF with the Pouncey twins, Chris Rainey. So like I have friends in the NFL, and I'm telling you, man, they don't require any type of blood work. They don't care. They have a medical doctor there for orthopedics, pretty much. Like that's it. It's
that's
an
what I was
orthopedic
thinking.
guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's what I'm saying. There's no endocrinologist. I don't know where to. So that's what I'm saying. Like it gets really really murky. So like, all these people talking about like blood work and stuff, it gets really murky because I mean I would have to get a lawyer on here because
Unmurk it. Because
yeah, man, it gets if you man freaking people are winning lawsuits over hot coffee from McDonald's. I mean,
dude,
it gets murky.
that shit was like 213 degrees. They just
That's
it was
Australia.
that lawsuit was outrageous. Like when you first heard about it, but then you find out they served it like 30 degrees hotter than legal. Like it's like damn.
Or
Walmart
freaking
coming in.
tripping over your own feet in a Walmart parking lot, and then you sue Walmart for their asphalt. I mean, this legal system, man, it's terrible.
Oh, just like California, anything that has nitrates or whatever, that this is known to the state of California to cause cancer or whatever.
Yeah,
That
man.
so stupid. But real quick, is it weird? I'm so sketched out about injuries and like the injuries I've had. I was walking through Sprouts parking lot yesterday while it was raining, and I would not step on the lines because like Branch Warren, like multiple people have blown out their quads slipping on the painted part of what. Dude, I literally would walk around and not step on that fucking line. I want my quad attached, and I feel like I've already damaged where it attaches to my kneecap. So I'm like a little skeptical.
Okay, here we go. Medical personnel. The organizer of the international competition will ensure that accredited medical personnel. Oh, that's just to make sure that there's staff on duty. Never mind.
Oh,
Yeah.
so like backstage if someone has issues.
Yeah, that there's like a medical team. So, yeah, I could do that. I think I'm still certified.
If they'll have that, why can, dude, that literally you might die at the show, so we'll have someone here, but you can't require blood work.
Well, no. Again, that goes back to let's use football. I was a medical, so during college, I was a medical staff for orthopedics for the sideline for high school football. But again, they don't show blood work. When we start showing blood work, I'm telling you, man, it just gets murky, and that's a piece of information that no one else is talking about. And I haven't seen anyone podcast bring on a lawyer. I haven't.
Hey, this is you. You're gonna change industry. Yeah,
I can finally go viral. This is probably where it would say something, but
I post something. Get 4
anyways,
views.
speaking of like parking lots, do you ever like walk over the drains, or do you like skip the drains?
Generally I walk. So if they're dry, I'll walk.
Like, have you seen Final Destination? I'm pretty sure like one of those, like the dude falls through the drain or something.
Dude, so you want to know something fucked up? When I was super, super young, I swear it was like 1st or 2nd grade. I watched the original It, the clown that comes out of the drains in the bathrooms.
Oh, dude, yeah.
For a year, I was terrified when I had to go use the bathroom by myself. If I walk
have you seen the new one? How it starts off?
No, I don't.
Because it's a little kid. Yeah, he's like it's in the rain. He like puts like a little I can't find it. But yeah, he puts like a little paper boat, and it goes down the road, and then it goes down the drain, and then the clown's down there. And now his mouth is like freaking huge. It has like a bunch of teeth. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but it freaks me out. Any movie or TV show that has something to where a kid dies or a kid gets like kidnapped or whatever, molested, like I can't watch that stuff. So I was thinking of my own kid. I was like, ah.
So you have kids. You don't follow UFC at all, do you?
Nah.
Did you hear the story about Cain Velasquez going to prison? So the person that supposedly molested a bunch of children at this daycare was, So, and one of them, like, it was a relative of Cain Velasquez. They wouldn't like specifically say who it was, but everyone's speculating that it was his daughter because people close to him knew his daughter went to this daycare, and he got released on bail. And Velasquez lost his mind. At his peak before like his injuries and stuff, the best heavyweight of all time. But he chased this guy down and shot into his car a bunch of times.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So everyone's like, dude, you at one time you're the baddest man in the world, and there's no point, even with where you're at now, like he's still competitive. There's no way there's more than 0.1% of humans on the planet that could beat him like just with your hands.
Yeah.
Dude, why don't you just fucking chase him down if you have to, drag him out of his car and beat him to death? Like,
yeah,
he's in trouble because he shot and then he shot the
wrong person, right?
Yeah, the father got hit in the car.
I would still be I'd be like, hey man, you're free to go. Like you're freaking like that person was what do they call it?
Pedophile.
Like his dad driving. He's
collateral damage or
he's whatever it's called. I can't even think of the word. But he's with that person doing that deed, right? So I'm like, he's part of it. So
guilty association or whatever.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's I can't even. I know it starts with a C. I can't even think of the word right now. But yeah, but he's part of it. I'd be like, dude, you're the driver. I mean, he just shot the driver so that he can try to stop and beat him.
There's a lot of people that still like everyone that has kids, and like, so he's not even allowed out on bail. But this guy that molested tons of children repeatedly, it got out on bail, and that's what caused this. There's a lot of people that, like, obviously, I think he would be out, and I think he'd have 100% support if he just physically used his hands and beat the shit out of him. The issue was he was shooting a fire, chasing someone down the road, shooting a firearm in a public. I think that if it was just that guy, like, was in an empty spot, nobody around, and he shot at him, I think it'd be different. But because, like, there was video of him literally chasing this guy off the road. I think there's video of it if you want to pull up a short clip.
I mean, hey man, he was just saving the taxpayers' dollars because he could have called the cops. You know what I mean? So, I mean, might as well just do it himself because the cops are going to shoot the same way, right? I mean, they shoot in the public prep places. I don't know, like,
true.
What is it?
Cain Velasquez. I think, yeah.
Of course, it's going to pop up.
Well, literally, he was one of the most famous heavyweight 50 champions of all time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a big story, and I follow UFC pretty closely, but maybe just Cain Velasquez video or something. Yeah, they denied him bail. Like, it sucks because most people support him because of what caused it.
Yeah,
but he's in trouble mainly because it was premeditated too. Like, he went out of his way to find this guy, which makes it premeditated. If you would have killed this guy, but it was just like he walked in the room, the guy was on his kid, and he shot him. That could be claimed to like a whatever. But since it's premeditated because he went and had to go find the guy, it makes it a little harder to fight. But even then, support it.
Yeah, it says this case involves allegations of extreme reckless human life. Okay. See what I mean, man? The legal system, man, they screw everything up. I'm telling you, you put one little detail in there and it changes the whole outcome.
That was a perfect little segue from what you were talking about lawsuits and stuff.
Yeah, man. I mean, that literally makes zero sense. Like, I'm a big believer in freaking pedophiles they should have whatever they did done to them in prison, and then they should put them all in the room and have like a little Saw episode, and then whoever survives, whoever survives, which none of them do. I mean,
Dude,
put them in the next one.
If you're in Gen Pop and you're a pedophile, dude, they kill like most of them, don't they?
Yeah, I heard they're like the most hated because a lot of the guys in there already have kids, right?
Yeah, they probably had kids from 16 when they're slinging dope. Is that racist?
No.
But no, yeah, they do. They have to be the most hated humans on the planet. Like, even if you killed someone, I feel like more people would forgive that than anything to like a child, especially a young child.
Yeah.
Because not to justify it, but isn't there like stories of like someone like dating someone, they're like 2-3 years older, but that person turned 18 and then the girl was still younger, and
then they would like claim.
Yeah, I think there's been shady shit like that, which technically like, I don't know.
Well, I heard that's happening now with the social media, like with TikTok and stuff, where girls will hit on or like request to go out with some guy, but then they ask, are you over the age of 18 or over the age of 19 or something?
And they lie.
Yeah, because these girls, they put the filters and stuff on there. It's like I'm like super like nervous about the future as far as like how relationships are, because I'm like, dude, you can filter anything and then you can show up at a date and you look a certain way, even with makeup, or just, it seems like people are getting older looking every single decade. And so it's like, yeah,
it's scary. There's been 16-year-olds that have like walked past, like they look 25. Yeah. Like all of 25.
Yeah, it's true.
And then it's like, you feel like horrible because, like, obviously if it was even a remote guess that they were close to not 18, He won't even fucking look.
Yeah.
But they literally dress, act, talk, fucking probably smoking a cigarette. Like every signal that would make them seem older than they are is what they do from like a super young age. It's weird.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Anyways, all right. I think that's about does it.
Who's your next podcast? Or are you going to save it?
No, it's with Shay Mann. He's IFBB from Gainesville. And yeah, that's where I met him and became friends with him. And we worked at like a little gym together for a bit. He left and I came in. And yeah, but I think he's sponsored by GAT now. I don't know. I still have to ask him. But yeah, right now he's on the stair stepper. So I think he's getting ready for maybe competing again. He competes in men's physique, but he wants to transition to classic. He did a classic probably, man, has it been? It's been maybe 5 years ago. But he competed versus Aaron Reed, that tall 7-foot dude. He was the body double in that Ryan Reynolds movie that just came out.
Red Notice?
Like no, it's the one where he's in like a video game or something, and then you have big him and little him. Aaron Reed's the big him, yeah. So Guy, the movie Guy. That's yeah, so that's Aaron Reed. But yeah, I think they tied together back in like maybe as a national show in Miami, but it's been a while. But he does really well in men's physique. He's got a freaking huge chest, huge shoulders. His arms are like bigger than his legs, dude. Like it's crazy. But that's the critique, I guess, on his classic physique look. He definitely needs to bring his legs up, and he's trying. But you know, some people, he hasn't found the right workout regimen or scheme to grow his legs right now. But very, very, very good potential. Yeah.
Just to wrap this up real quick. So do you believe there's genetic body parts that can't grow, or do you believe they're just set up mechanically where it's harder? That person is yet to figure out how to train them. Correct.
I think it's so the only muscle that I would say would be very strenuous or like very time consuming to grow would be calves and forearms, just because we use them so much. And I think everyone can grow their muscles. I think it just takes a lot of maybe food, a lot of maybe IGF from your insulin that you release. I don't think you need like a lot of exogenous hormones to grow parts, but I think really comes down to training. And I think you train, like, you think you train hard until you train with someone who trains hard, you know? Like, I think that if you're like, hey, my legs don't grow, and you're like, and then you get, you know, you live with Branch Warren for 6 months, I can guarantee that your legs are going to grow, you know? I just think that that's the case.
Dude, I was still natural, and I trained with now classic physique IFU pro from Minnesota, Fong, that Asian or whatever, the guy that I showed you with the massive legs, like 30+ inch legs on stage. He's like 5'2", like crazy. The first time I ever trained legs with him, by our second movement, which was pendulum squats, I was falling out of the movement every set. And we did like 6 more movements. And I literally had to crawl up the stairs like on the handrail because my legs just kept giving out. We trained chest, and we did 1 movement and then got to flat. And we went so hard, like even early, I got 135 stuck on my chest after a drop set we did.
Yeah.
And literally, he was like talking with somebody. It wasn't even like a working set, but we did a drop, and I was supposed to rack it before I failed. Well, I went for another one and got trapped, and I'm just like looking at him like, help.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, training technique, whether it be volume, weight, movements, patterns, things like that, I think everything will grow, but then you also have to put the nutrients in, and a lot of, you know, but people just don't eat enough. And
So
yeah,
I've never asked you. I've been meaning to ask somebody. What is the deal? Like, I can do one set of 15 on like with a single plate on like seated calf raises, and my calves are absolutely destroyed. Like, it's one muscle. I can do one set. I can contract and stretch my calves so hard. I literally have
yeah.
issues standing up the next morning. Like, why do my calves get so sore so quick?
I'm the same way. We probably have more type 1 muscle fibers. So you can do lightweight. It grows very easy. Whereas type 2, fast twitch, you need like higher volume, more and more volume for it to grow. But then you also have a higher endurance of lactic acid. The type 1, you have your threshold for lactic acid is very, very low. But they grow really well, which is why your calves are big. I mean, my calves are big. But you're probably like, I don't have a very high vertical. I don't like, my acceleration is good, but that's more hamstring. So like my jumping isn't good at all. So I mean, I don't know if you're in the same boat. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's a difference between the muscle fibers, and theoretically, according to Bill Campbell, I believe you can train to develop type 2 muscle fibers, but once you stop training them that way, like they just go away. Like they're very, very quick to go away unless you genetically have them. So yeah.
It's just because I don't train. Like, my calves could be bigger, but like I was obese, so I already had like a little better developed calves than most people. But like, time I train them, like I can't train them. You'll see a lot of people doing calves before they train legs. I couldn't do that. Literally, my ankle would lose mobility. Like, it would affect my workout negatively.
Yeah, I don't know why they do. Like, that's another subject. I don't know why someone would do calves before legs.
I see a lot of people do it.
I understand that they're like, oh, like that's like saying, well, like I understand, like, oh, I want my calves to grow, so I want them to be fresh and all this stuff. But like, now you're putting a lot of like stress and load on your ankles, and I would rather have my ankles feeling fresh for squats or for hack squats or leg press, so I can have the bigger output, because you don't need tons of weight on your calves. Like, people putting 3 plates on the seated calf, I'm like, why, dude? Like, I literally put like a plate, like you said, or 25-pounder, or I just do them with no weight, and then just do things like step ups, or yeah, I don't know. But
one thing that I think most people fail at calves, like I do deep holds in the stretch. So like, I'll come up, like if I want to pause at the top, I'll pause at the top. But I for sure take like a 2-second pause in the fully stretch, mainly because my ankle mobility is bad, and I try to use the loaded stretch as a way to improve my ankle mobility a little bit. But it torches my calves every single time.
yeah, I
All
mean,
right. That was fun.
yeah, I
You
have no
tried to
idea.
go like 10 minutes ago, so we'll let you get ready for your next podcast.
All right, man.